Jai Hind, I'm Cadet Tarushi from Carmel Convent School, Chandigarh Naval Unit 1. Today, I will be presenting my presentation on water conservation. The topics that will be covered under this are need for water conservation, ways to conserve water, what is rainwater harvesting, types of rainwater harvesting, and groundwater recharge. So firstly, we'll read about the need for water conservation. As human population increases, I'm just As human population increases, the desire for a better standard of living will increase the demands on freshwater resources. The failure in efficiently managing the resource to meet the increasing water demands has resulted in a situation of crisis in many parts of the world. Water conservation should be considered an option any longer, but is an inescapable necessity. Much of the world is currently suffering due to the lack of clean water. Therefore, it is extremely important to seek out, find, and start using all the innovative water conservation solutions and methods that are available today. So, already there are many areas in our country where water scarcity is being faced, but still, so that's why they say that it is an inescapable necessity because the water which is at least which we have, at least we can conserve that so that it can be a benefit for us in the future. Then the ways to conserve water. Ensure that there are no leaks in your house, in the pipelines, taps, and toilets. Use water efficient flushes and, if possible, toilets with dual flushing systems. Close taps while brushing your teeth, shaving, or soaping your face. Use water from washing of clothes for cleaning the floors. Use appropriate amount of detergent for washing clothes. Close the shower tap while soaping your body. Then when washing dishes by hand, don't let the water run while rinsing. Fill one sink with wash water and the other with rinsed water. So when we wash over the dishes, usually we have two sinks in our house. So in one, we should just store the water and we should rinse in one and the in one sink, and in the other one we should just clean over the utensils. Then monitor your water bill for unusually high use. Your bill and water meter are tools that can help you discover leaks. And then water your lawn and garden in the morning or evening when temperatures are cooler to minimize evaporation. Then water conservation practices for water utilities, metering, leak detection, repairing water lines, well capping, pricing, waste water reuse, and developing public education programs and drought management plans. So these are the small steps which can, these are the water conservation practices for water utilities. Like if we can meter our bill, and then we can detect the leaks wherever the leaks are, and then our taps can be well capped. So these small initiatives can be taken by us. Then agricultural water conservation practices, like field practices, management strategies, and system modifications. For example, drip irrigation. It is an efficient way with which the water is not wasted. Then industrial and commercial water conservation practices. That is by installing water recycling systems such as cooling water recirculation and wash water recycling. These are the most widely used water recycling practices which are being used nowadays. Um, yes, what is rainwater harvesting? Rainwater harvesting means capturing the runoff of the rainwater in our own house, village, town, or city. Utilization includes watering for garden, livestock, irrigation, etc. The harvested water can be used for drinking water also. If the storage is a tank, that can be accessed and cleaned when needed. So, there are tanks in which the rainwater can be stored, and after this, for various utilities like livestock, watering the gardens, and irrigation, that water can be reused. The need for rainwater harvesting, it helps to recharge subsoil and groundwater, thus increasing the level of water table. It helps to create large quantity of pollution-free potable water that can be stored in huge tanks or ponds for use later on. In cities, it reduces the dependence on treated water supply to a great extent. It ensures ready supply of water on the land surface, thereby reducing dependence on the groundwater. So we, living in cities, we are actually dependent on the treated water supply from our filters and all those things. But we can reduce our dependence by this rainwater harvesting system. Then there are three types of rainwater harvesting: ground catchment system, roof catchment system, and subsurface dike. The first one is the ground catchment system. In this process, water is channelized from a prepared catchment system to a storage tank, which means that above the ground there is a tank where the water is stored. And then with a system of pipelines and all those things, the water is treated with sand, with filter, and then it can be used later on. It also helps recharge the ground water level. Then generally this method is only considered in areas where rainwater is very scarce and other sources of water are not available. This method is ideally suited for villages in the rural areas. Then we have the roof catchment system. In this, on the top of the roof of our houses, the water is collected. So usually what happens is that the water drains off, either we wipe it off or it evaporates. But in this process, the water can be, with a system of pipes, we can store it in tanks and this can be used later on. So the roof catchment system channelize rainwater that falls onto a roof into a storage tank via a system of pipes. So there are some guidelines to be followed, that when the first flush during the first flush of rainwater, it should not be stored because it usually contains it is contaminated with dust for dropping, etc. Then the pipes must be strong enough and large enough. The tanks must be large enough to carry peak flows. Then storage tanks should be covered to prevent mosquito breeding and to reduce evaporation losses, contamination, and algae growth. Next, we have subsurface dike. A subsurface dike is a built-in an aquifer to obstruct the natural flow of groundwater, thereby raising the groundwater level and increasing the amount of water stored in the aquifer. So as we can see over here in the image, that there is an area which is lower than the ground. So that is an aquifer where the water is stored, and it can help in increasing the groundwater level. And the subsurface dike is, for example, the subsurface dike at Krishi Vigyan Kendra, Kannur, under Kerala Agricultural University with the support of ICAR, has become an effective method for groundwater conservation by means of rainwater harvesting technologies in India. Then thank you. This was it for this session.